In a world spinning with uncertainty, hope isn't just a feeling, it is a powerful life strategy. Join host of Idaho Matters, Gemma Gaudette, Tuesday, January 21st at the Idaho State Museum for a panel discussion that explores how to cultivate happiness and resilience in daily life. Find out more on our website and register for free, boisestatepublicradio.org.
Today on The Connector from Boise State Public Radio, how public is the state capitol or other public buildings? Plus, Treasure Valley home sales surged last month to their highest levels since December of 2021. The Bank of Idaho has been sold to a Montana-based conglomerate, and a win for public lands advocates in our region at the U.S. Supreme Court. All that coming up on The Connector for Tuesday, January 14th. Idaho Daily News from Boise State Public Radio News. Good morning. I'm Troy Oppie. But we start at the State House with a potential new bill. Idaho could become the latest state to add legal roadblocks to frivolous civil lawsuits. James Dawson explains.
The bill from Republican Senator Brian Lenny would allow the person or group targeted by the lawsuit to ask for a hearing within 60 days after being served to dismiss the case. The court would then hit pause for all other aspects of the lawsuit until it rules whether the case can proceed.
If this goes through and becomes law, it kind of does a timeout on the lawsuit so people don't just run up the clock as far as time and money spent in litigation.
Under the bill, a judge must dismiss cases where the filer cannot prove they have a chance of backing up their allegations. If a case is dismissed, the person being sued could get their legal costs covered by the filer. As of last July, 34 states and Washington, D.C. have passed similar laws, according to the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press. Lenny introduced a similar bill last year, which died on the Senate floor 15-20. James Dawson, Boise State Public Radio News.
Idaho Supreme Court will decide whether state officials could legally have anti-government activist Ammon Bundy arrested for trespassing at the Capitol in 2020. Capitol Police then told Bundy and several others to leave a committee room because legislators had ended a hearing in the space hours earlier. Bundy refused and ended up being wheeled out of the Capitol in a swivel chair. Yesterday, Bundy's attorney, Seth DeVenney, told the Supreme Court the Idaho Capitol is, quote, a monument to free speech, and the public should have wide access to the building.
And we're reminded of our ability to interface with our government by the openness of these rooms.
DeVenney says police had no legal grounds to arrest Bundy when the rest of the Capitol was still open to the public. Deputy Attorney General Ken Jorgensen, though, says there are plenty of government rooms with restricted access, like his own office or even the Idaho Supreme Court.
The First Amendment doesn't give a carte blanche right to walk into any of those merely because you disagree with something the government has done.
Justices have no timeline on which to rule in the case of Bundy's appeal. The U.S. Supreme Court yesterday denied Utah's lawsuit seeking control of large swaths of public lands. The Mount West News Bureau's Rachel Cohen has more.
Utah wanted the court to rule that it was unconstitutional for the federal government to own and manage 18.5 million acres of public lands within its boundaries. But in a single sentence, the court refused to hear the state's arguments. Michael Carroll is with the Wilderness Society. He considers this a victory.
If the Supreme Court had taken up this case, it would have signaled that 150 years of precedent and law around the management and decision-making around federal public lands was in jeopardy.
But Utah could now choose to file the suit in a lower court. State officials did not say Monday whether there are plans to do so, but they say they're heartened the incoming Trump administration shares their principles for federal land management. For the Mountain West News Bureau, I'm Rachel Cohen.
Two property management companies operating in Idaho are among 6 named in a price-fixing complaint filed against a separate property management software company. The Department of Justice alleges the 6 landlord companies used RealPage property management software to set prices collectively based on algorithms provided by the software, and that the companies directly communicated about pricing models. The Washington Post reports landlord companies Greystar and Cortland, both named in the DOJ lawsuit, operate multiple apartment properties in Idaho, including in the Treasure Valley. Cortland has agreed to settle in the case to terms that must be approved by the court. Greystar says it will vigorously defend itself, according to the Idaho Statesman. Multiple states have joined the federal lawsuit on behalf of affected renters, but Idaho is not among them. The Idaho Statesman reports Attorney General Raul Labrador's office did not respond to a request for comment made last week. The Washington Post investigation estimated that about 19% of Boise's rental market is controlled by companies named in different price-fixing lawsuits brought both by the federal government and by individual states. Treasure Valley home sales surged last month to their highest level since December 2021. MLS data shared by local realty firm The Agency showed Ada County home sales were up 36% from a year ago December, nearly 43% higher in Canyon County. Prices were up, too, about $5,000 more than November, at a median price in Ada County nearly $530,000. But the median home price in December for Canyon County actually slipped from November. The number of homes listed for sale continued to grow throughout 2024. Inventory, though, is still less than half of what would be considered a balanced market. Last year in Ada County, home sales grew by about 10% from 2023, totaling more than $5.3 billion. Home sales in Canyon County last year totaled nearly $2.3 billion. The Bank of Idaho announced it has agreed to sell to Montana-based Glacier Bancorp. The deal, if regulators sign off, would rebrand current Bank of Idaho locations to 3 different Glacier-owned banks. 4 East Idaho locations would rebrand, joining Citizens Community Bank. Treasure Valley Bank of Idaho locations would join Mountain West Bank. And 5 Bank of Idaho branches in eastern Washington would become Wheatland Bank. Boise Dev reports Glacier, which has purchased 12 banking operations in the last year, valued Bank of Idaho at more than $245 million. Glacier, under all its banking brands, says the deal will make it the 3rd largest banking operation in Idaho by deposit market share. The deal is expected to close before July. And that's The Connector for Tuesday, January 14th. I'm Troy Oppie. Our news director is Sasha Woodruff. Our general manager is Tom Michael. You can follow us online at boisestatepublicradio.org. Read more at our website or on our free app for your smartphone. Just search Boise State Public Radio in your favorite app store. Have a great day.